Welcome and good evening to all. Here now I invite the panelists for the day. The first panelist for the day is Avtar Singh.
Great. Thank you, Rohit. Welcome, everyone. Thanks to ANI for getting these beautiful sessions in place. So I'll just briefly introduce myself. I have been a software leader for many, many years now. I currently work with Clifford Chance Private Limited, one of the largest law firms, and I had their legal technology solutions. I'm also an agile coach, RTE for our teams. Been using lean agile thinking, the scale agile framework, Devops, big picture, Kanban for many, many years now, doing the enterprise transformation with our current company and also looking at launching digital products using all these frameworks and improvising our operational and technical work as well throughout the career that I have spent with Clifford Chance. We primarily look at how we can add value to our lawyer community and their life and making their life more comfortable in doing the work that they have to do, of course, while reducing the cost and doing continuous improvement within the team. Back to you, Rohit.
Yeah, so we have our next panelist, Parvinder Singh.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Parinderjit Singh, and working with Accenture as an agile coach, and it's been a quite a long journey right now, even in the software industry, working in agile, and now working within Accenture itself. I will not go through what is already there available in my profile. Yep, in my free time, I try to find out some time where I used to play some badminton and all, but nowadays definitely that's a challenge being in a COVID situation. Yeah, I will keep it brief over here. Thanks.
All right. So our next panelist is Shweta Jaswal.
Hi everyone, on behalf of ANI, I welcome you all. And my name is Shweta Jaswal, and I work as an agile consultant, coach, and a trainer. I'm also an Scrum ambassador and a personal agility coach and trainer with 17 years of IT industry experience. I'm also the founder of Twin Flames Consulting Services. And apart from this, I love traveling. Of course, that has taken a big pause now. And I like connecting with people, helping them out in whatever ways possible. And of course, coaching is my passion, and that is how I'm connected with you all today here.
Yeah, so we have our fourth panelist of the day, Vikrant Kardam.
Thank you, Rohit. Hello, all. Good evening, and thank you to everyone who is spending time on a Sunday evening for this panel discussion. So thanks a lot for that. So yeah, I am an agile transformation consultant, and I advise and I help different organizations to strategize, assess, and create roadmaps and implement their agile transformation programs. I have been in the industry for over 2 decades and started as a software engineer, took on different roles, but been in the agile portion or in the agile industry for last more than 10 years. And I'm a SAFe certified, I am an SPC, and been working with different organizations in my throughout career. But yeah, agile still stays my passion. And other than being an agile transformation coach, I'm an avid audiophile and a passionate pianist. So the good thing is with me is that during this pandemic time, at least my interest did not get much of a hit because I have a piano at my home, so I can just enjoy that playing in my free time. So yeah, that's about me. Thank you.
We have our last panelist of the day, Vivek Swankar.
Good evening, team. So I would like to thanks all the audience and ANI for having this opportunity. So I have been in this IT industry for a long time. It's almost now 16 years, I can say. Technically, grown in this field as a techno-functional consultant, and I'm currently working with NCR Corporation, who is a ATM manufacturing based company. So especially working in the domain of supply chain and the sales and marketing. So I can say that in last 4-5 years, company started transforming into the agile transformation. So we involved with coaching, having different methodology across the team, guiding people and implementing many methods, Kanban, Scrum, and Scale, Agile, and other things. So that is all the part of the journey, and we will discuss this going forward. Yep. Thank you so much.
Let's start the discussion.
Great, thank you, Rohit. So I will be your moderator for this session. Welcome all the agile coaches on the panel and off the panel. We look forward to learn from each other. Please post any questions that you have regarding this in the chat session. I will pick from there and I'll ask. And if you feel like asking anything, just let me know. I'll unmute and we can have a conversation. Also, let's make it an interactive session so that we can learn from each other. I'll request all panelists to illustrate your answers with your examples that you have faced done in your current environment. So that will be helpful for everyone. So in fact, we have some pre-submitted questions from our initial work that we were doing. So I'm just going to pick questions from there. In the meantime, please post your questions on the chat session. So let me start with probably most interesting one. And I know we are very passionate people about our work, so let's just keep it to the point and as brief as possible. So one of the questions that I would like to start this whole discussion with is, just share a story about coaching, something which has helped you to sharpen the saw in your team. So I'll probably go round robin. Let me just start with Parvinder first. So Parvinder, since you are working in a very large organization, if you can just share a story about coaching that has helped the team in delivering better, or some challenge that you faced and how did you overcome. So over to you.
Thanks, Avtar. Thanks for sharing. So, okay, I'm not sure. I think this is something I will definitely. I'm going to share something, but maybe after this, I can give you a question to everyone just to turn around the table. Although we are being the panelists, but we can have an open discussion where definitely we can discuss around what has been changed in Agile, if I call about as a pre-crisis situation, in the current crisis situation in a COVID, and how we see Agile in a post-crisis, I would say, or a post-COVID. So maybe I think this is something which maybe we can, others can also share their views, but I can share my view right now in a current situation in a COVID times, what has been changed right now, and that is where when we are working with the customers and all kind of that way. Yeah, I think there is one in a coaching when we are working with one of the customer. There is one area is there where customer involvement, right? I think where we are all talk about the customer collaboration and the customer involvement and all. And this is one of the interesting client which I was working over here. I'm not sure how many would you have really thought of that customer would be or the end client or the end user would be paying to come in the sprint demos, and they are ready to come into the sprint demos and the sprint planning, and still they are ready to pay for that. Okay, and this is something which we have seen now in a COVID situation, when more collaboration which we are working with some of the customers and all kind of that way, where they have started realizing the benefits out of the customer centric products and all, where it's kind of a movement where we were thinking of, I think, product driven development when we all talk about that, which we recently, when we are working with a client, what we have seen was that in the COVID, that thought process has been changed now, that rather than going with the product driven development kind of that way, where it is something, the focus was more on coming out with the product and delivering that product to the customer, and then finding out the market and then finding out the sales opportunities, that where the product is going to come in and where we are going to sell it. Now it's been reversed, which is where identifying first of all the market and the sales opportunity and understanding your customer, their customer journeys and their personas itself, and then involving those customers within your delivery life cycle itself. That is something, one of the experience which I'm just sharing with you. Some client which we are working with is that how customer is getting involved, and even we have seen that where there is a passion about customer, where they are knowing what is being asked by these customers and all, and we have seen some of the customers even willing to pay, even come to their and join in within the delivery life cycle and working within the with ourselves or with the delivery teams itself in the delivery life cycle. So this is, I will say that one of the key challenge which we have worked with one of the client was that we're involving the customer early enough from the starting stages itself and reducing that failure cycles, reducing those feedback cycles over here. And I would say that in delivery lifecycle, you have almost zero down on the UAT phases. So you don't need a UAT phase when your customer is with you. So I think that is one really great. I think this is some of the recent which I'm working with one of the clients. So I'm just sharing with you that one.
Great. Thank you, Pravinder. That's really good insight. In fact, that's one of the agile principles also is working software over documentation. So I think that's a good one to share, that you should get your customers involved early and do the demos, fail early, so that you can save the precious time and effort. Thank you for sharing your insight. So Shweta, let me just come back to you. And since you work in a totally different environment than all of us, because we are mostly working with the organizations and either working in-house or coaching our clients, how would you rate as a coaching experience in a story when you work with different clients as an entrepreneur, and what are the different areas that you cover?
This could be one of my favorite questions because I'm really glad to share my experience on this perspective. I love working with people. That's my passion. All right. So whenever people are involved and wherever people are involved, and that's probably the most complex system also to work with, right? You can work very well with tools, technologies, and other aspects, but wherever people are involved, you need to look at it from 360-degree view. So I'll just share an experience of team coaching, that I have served a client of mine as an agile coach. So when I joined the organization, they wanted me to help them with agile transformation. All right. So apart from playing the role of agile consultant, I also had to look at various perspectives from coach perspective, okay, from the eye of a coach. First of all, my approach was to see what were the challenges which the team was facing, and was it aligned with the outcome or result which was expected from them or not, right? So obviously this was a challenging situation because the outcome was not as per the expectation of the organization, right? So then I started with my perspective of evaluating the current state and talking to each and every individual of the team, irrespective of their role. Okay, so I started talking to the Scrum Master, the team, and the product owners, and I found lots of disalignment between all these three roles, all these set of people. So there was not clear-cut accountability which anybody was ready to take. Apart from that, there was lots and lots of push from product management side onto the IT team, okay? And they all were not aligned to the same goal. The Scrum Master was overpowered by the product owners. So all these things were, different sets of challenges that I noticed. And then I started working on an individual and role-based basis. So I started coaching the product owner, the Scrum Master, and the team separately. Okay, so first of all, I started with role alignment, clear roles and responsibilities, clarities were given to them. And then once that was done, a shared goal, one team view was inculcated in the team. Okay, because everybody was working towards achieving the same goal. And if at the end of the sprint, if the team fails, that was a failure for everyone. And if they succeeded, that was a success for everyone. So all these kind of mindset were cultivated in the team, and slowly they started improving and aligned themselves with each other to deliver the goal. So this is a small experience.
Great. Thank you, Shweta. Really helpful to know the role-wise coaching. One quick question, probably I'm sure other people are inquisitive as well. Did you start coaching top to bottom or bottom up approach? Which one did you take when you started coaching the roles?
I would say, there were certain things which were going on parallelly. At the same time, there were exclusive sessions that were being run with the senior leadership, because I knew the top-down approach would only work. There's no question of running it through bottom-down approach. So I was introduced very well with the, from the leaders to the subsequent teams.
Great. So executive sponsorship is very key for Agile. Yeah, Vikrant, let me come to you now, because you work in a very niche organization, probably size-wise not as big, but from the purpose of adding value, ThoughtWorks is definitely a leader. And I've seen your talks, and I've attended some of the Agile sessions that's happened in your organization also. So your experience on any of the coaching story, if you would like to share.
Sure, Avtar. I think that will be a definitely good opportunity for me to share. So what comes to my mind basically is an example of how we actually went ahead and started to include non-agile teams within agile team. So what happened was that we, I was the agile coach in that particular organization. It's a Fortune 50 organization. I cannot name here due to confidentiality issues. But it's a very big consulting company, and their internal department was undergoing this transformation. And I was coaching this team, which fell under the finance portfolio. And then this team was essentially responsible to implement a new expense and time management system. Now, when we created this team, we were focused only on the technical part of it. That okay, we're going to need this skill set, and this skill set, testing, XP, etc. So we had a nice cross-functional team that we started with. But very soon we started to see that our deployments that were going out, they were coming back with rejections, a lot of bugs and complaints from the audit department. And 1 month down the line, we also found that the audit department was not at all happy with the product that this team was actually producing. So we did some analysis, and we found out that we are not complete until we have the audit people do some testing with us. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense, right? So we started having these conversations with them, but then obviously what we realized was that team, which is the pure auditors, like they're like ICWA or CA kind of people. Okay, they have no clue how software development is actually done, right? But definitely they were required to be part of our team. So we went ahead, talked with them, and they agreed to give us 2 people from their side, right? But obviously, when they would come to our sprint planning meetings or sprint demo meetings and grooming meetings, there were huge gaps in terms of understanding. They would not know what we're talking about. They would also not know why something was supposed to be done within a sprint. They would also not know that what is the number 3 for a user story versus 8 versus 13 or anything of that sort, right? So it took us quite a lot of efforts for us to really sort of coach them and make them understand that how we are working in the software field. And it took some time, more than 2 months, only to get them settled, right? But once we started to do that, the biggest thing that we saw, 2 outcomes. One was that definitely this team was enriched with the skill set that was earlier missing, and the number of bugs and the rejections from the other team was significantly reduced. Second thing we also saw, which was quite a happy sort of discovery for us, is that those two people actually started doing sprint planning in their finance audit department as well. So that was quite a like, I would say like a achievement for us, for all of us, that hey, like we not only actually integrated them, but they liked it so much that they're actually doing their own department as well.
Great. It's good to see
so
actually
when you quite interesting transformation. Many other stories, but yeah, I'll stop here for now. Just one story.
Great. Thank you, Vikrant. So I was saying that it's interesting to see, because in definition you always see and read that it's one concept and everybody has to be agile. So getting a non-agile team into your transformation is good to hear. Vivek, quickly over to you, because there's a question in the chat session, so which is kind of related. So I'll pick that up. So quickly coming to you, any agile story from your end that you want to share with the team here?
Sure, Avtar. Thank you for that. So I just keep brief for my experience out there. So whenever we talk about the agile coach, I can say I always categorize into multiple way, right? So I can say the agile coach should be technical, okay? It should have the process, and sometimes there is a non-directive ideas also. So with the combination of these three entities, a agile coach can build their qualities, because it is not only the process that we have the scrum or we have the kanban, or we have extreme programming. It is not only the process, it is all about the leadership. It is all about the technical challenge what the company is facing on. Until and unless we will not understand that, just putting or keeping the process is not going to help that organization. So Avtar and the team, the point is, since I work with NCR Corporation and it is a big customer base of some 40,000 employees, so it's a big unit actually, I can say. And the point is, when we started our journey some 2-3 years back, the main challenge which I face in my organization is to identify whether the team will really need that scrum practice, or they need the kanban practice, or they need the extreme programming practice. So until and unless the person who is a coach, or somebody is having a scrum master, or somebody is having a maybe the kanban manager kind of things, they should understand what is the need of our team and we can fit best. uh, this challenge is arrived in one of our big program, when our organization moved into from selling ATM to subscribing the ATM. So now the complete picture has been changed. We are now the customer is asking us to give us the offer for subscribing ATM for 5 to 10 years time frame, and this is a strategically change. Here, what we faced when we are running this program, uh, team team is not into the correct methodology and the correct practice. So earlier we have put lot of things into that, but slowly and slowly when this program arrived, we started changing, identifying the team. Like, let's take example that this team should not fitting into the scrum, they should fit it into the kanban, they should fitting into the kanban kind of means scrum kind of things. And the cadence was also not same. So slowly and slowly this big transformation took around 15 big team included for the delivery of this project. And the real experience and the real knowledge is needed by all the expert people. And definitely the coach comes in the picture, and the good people who really know this all methodology, they work together, and then only the things get delivered. So this pain we have last 1.5 years, and we slowly changes and we achieve our projects. So
Great.
yep,
Thank
thanks.
you,
Over
Vivek.
to you, Acha. Yep, thank you.
So I have a question on chat, and thank you, Anmol, for. So question is, if an organization decides to adopt Agile, do we get a coach first who will develop an Agile mindset, or do they develop the Agile mindset first and then get a coach? So it's a catch-22 story. So should we get a coach first and then and get a agile mindset, or should we have the agile mindset first and then get a coach? So great question. Let me jump to Parvinder. I see him smiling.
I'm
Parvinder,
just saying it's a chicken and egg story actually. So it's a chicken and egg story that what is come first kind of that way. So when I say that, okay, it's an agile mindset or as an agile coach, see, I'm not sure. See, uh, it might be that, okay, since all of us are from the agile community and all, maybe some of us could be disagreeing on that part and all, but in my experience, what I have seen is that the transformation is usually being done or achieved by a respective people of that organization. Agile coaches are just facilitated on a mean, actually, I would say that they just bring the consistency within the organization and bring some guidance over there or an experience. Otherwise, it's the people within the organization who will do that whole transformation, because no agile coach knows the organization better than the people in the organization itself. So it's the people of that organization. Now, when we say that develop an agile mindset, right? So another question is that what is agile mindset? Like, is it knowing Scrum is an agile mindset? Knowing Kanban is an agile mindset? I don't think so. It's like understanding the desire. What is, if any agile coach, as an agile coach, when we are going, any agile coach, they don't go with the desire that I have to implement Scrum, Kanban, or a Safe or any other framework. It's the organization desire. What is that they want to achieve as part of that, which can be achieved without any frameworks. I would say that you don't need a framework to achieve some agility within an organization itself. So the mindset and agile, if an organization is having it within themselves, I would say that you don't need an agile coach. And even if when the organization is having, so it's not about like every person is as I said, like agile coaches, they bring in the consistency and experience along with them, which helps in bringing that consistency within that organization itself. It's not like that when we get into an organization, it's a blank state and nothing is available over there, and we start creating an agile mindset over here. Its mindset is not created kind of that way. It is there. It is something which is we have to bring that consistency, and people have to come together, that okay, that what has been the desire to achieve something, that how you are going to align people to that desire of an organization, what has been bringing over here. That is something as an agile coach bring. Otherwise, it's not like agile coach is just coming to teach the Scrum practices and all. So in my experience, I would say that I have been in the transformation. I'm telling you, sometimes without Scrum and without all these practices, also you can achieve an agility itself. You don't need these frameworks to achieve an agility.
okay. Thank you,
I'm not
Parvinder.
sure whether I've answered the question or not, but at least I've shared my experience. Anyone else, if they can better elaborate, I'm happy to hear other feedback. No issue.
Sure. Thank you.
Avatar,
Yeah, I
I
know.
have a slightly slightly
Actually, coming
different
to you,
view on this. Uh, okay,
I was
suppose the
actually coming to you, Shweta, because Parvinder kind of straight away decided not to hire a coach if it is there.
yeah.
So that kind of questioned your existence. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So according to me, once the organization has decided to go agile, okay, now certainly, there is some expert needed in that area. Leaders all by themselves cannot do that. If they would have done, then the transformation would have been very easy. And leaders are leaders. It is not needed that they are expert in all the dimensions of organization, especially when it comes to agile transformation. So I think agile coaches are much needed, and they should be adopted, or they should be brought into the organization from the very beginning, just after the decision has been taken. Okay, so it depends upon how do you want to take the transformation, whether you want to try on your own, and then you ask your people, okay, fine, now you unlearn everything whatever you have learned about agile from us or on your own, and now you We have got you the expert and now you relearn everything. So that becomes a two-step process and little cumbersome, right? That makes the transformation even more difficult. First of all, transformation itself is a very difficult process because it involves people's transition from mindset, from tools, from processes, everything. So why not get the right person, right expert in the very beginning, and then conduct all those awareness sessions and try to develop all those skills in the people, which is much more needed to adopt agile very easily, right? So instead of paying focus on agile way of working, why not inculcate in people's mind that what it means to be agile? First of all, why do you need to be agile? And when I say why do you need to be agile, means here we are trying to develop a culture and grow our people and helping them out to become agile first of all, and not just teaching them any agile framework, right? So in those scenarios, definitely people in your organization need some hand holding and the right set of knowledge, right set of directions and the roadmaps. And for that, I think agile coaches are much more needed people, who can take everything in the right direction. So this is my view on this.
Great. Thank you, Shweta. So I will jump to next question because as Parvinder said, this is chicken and egg story. We can continue to discuss this when cows come home. But before I jump to next question, I'll just add one tiny point. So it actually depends on the organization that you're working for. I mean, I'm not refuting what Shweta said or what Parvinder said. I'm just adding on to that. Whatever you decide to do, getting executive sponsorship is very, very important if you want to start doing agile. So if you're a large organization, like Parvinder's organization, thank you, or like Vivek's organization, I would suggest defining a concept from lean management called Hoshin Country, which comes from lean production, which means direction management. It's a strategical move. You can actually define what you want to do, or if you are not so big organization and if you think Hoshin Country is going to be an overkill for you, just have a mission and vision statement from your exec leadership. Coach them first, buy their sponsorship, and then go down and decide whether you want to try it yourself first, or you want to build that coach internally, or hire somebody like Shweta who's experienced in doing that transformation. So leave that to you. So I'll jump on to next question. In fact, I already had this question, but actually Vivek kind of alluded to that in his answer also, where he said, should agile coaches be technical? So I have a question, which is, should agile coaches must know DevOps practices? So Vivek, while you started this, let me just come to you. What do you think? And again, very briefly, because I have a couple of other very interesting questions that I would like to get everybody's thoughts on. So what do you think? Should they know DevOps? And mind it, DevOps is a very vast subject. It's not just 2-3 things that we always talk about. So what are your thoughts? So let me come to Vikrant. Would you like to pick this up while?
Sure, Avtar. So I think, should agile coaches know DevOps? Okay. Yeah, so I think Avtar, it's a very interesting question that comes very, very often. And people actually try to separate out agile and DevOps somehow. And the moment you do that, that is where the questions come in, that should we know DevOps or not? Or what is the difference between agile and DevOps? The way I see this is that, first of all, both agile and DevOps are mindsets. Number two, they are the two sides of the same coin. Because if you really think about it, what DevOps actually tells us to do is to really diminish the boundaries between development and operations, and which is not as simple as just the same team starts to develop something and puts into production and starts to support. Definitely that is there, right? But there's a lot more to do that, right? And there is also this concept of the product mindset or the product teams, and that is what the product teams are supposed to do. And if you look at Agile, and when we started to look into these different frameworks of like Scrum or Kanban or XP, etc., they all talk about product. They all talk about building that product, right? So, in my opinion, I would not sort of differentiate between Agile and DevOps. But to the very specific question, should the Agile coaches know DevOps? I would say yes, they should know. Because DevOps is something that actually enables that continuous integration, continuous deployment, brings teams together. There are no hierarchies, there are no differences in between. It also goes up to the level that like the different examples that we give, right? Like Netflix has a chaos monkey that can bring down their infrastructure in a second, and then they just try to sort of see that, okay, what is the mean time to recovery, right? What is the DevOps, what is the cycle time and stuff like that. All of those are really part of the Agile development and the DevOps mindset. And I think I in my opinion, all of these things go together if you really want to call yourself as an Agile team.
Thank you, Vikrant. Vivek, yes, you were trying to say something.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Vikrant, and I agree with Vikrant comments because I have one practical scenario which we have faced. So I worked with the supply chain earlier. So there, what we do when we work in that team, there is a separate release management team, and it took a lot of time for sending your any things to the production. Okay, now I'm into the sales and marketing, and there we started using this DevOps practices. The development team lead, the development team senior people, they take the accountability to use the tools like Jenkins and something others, and they do the deployment quickly, and there is a close coordination between the development and the operation team. Both work together and things go very fast. So this is one of the technical example where we are talking about, and it really helps. So it is not a separate part of the Agile. Both should go parallel with each other, any practice of the DevOps. So if Agile coach know about that, then only he or she can guide the team that yes, your team will need this, and your team can go for this method implementation. Because still we know that there's a lot of organization who are struggling to understand what fit best to their product team. So I agree with this point that the coach must have that DevOps knowledge.
Knowledge. Okay.
Over to
Parvinder,
you, Avtar.
any to
Yep.
add, or do you in general agree with the discussion so far?
Definitely, Avtar, and I second what Vikrant was saying. It's just two sides of a one coin itself. And if you're getting into a transformation, you cannot go with a one wheel. I would say that unless both the wheels are there. And when it comes to a agile coach, right? So if you would have done some deep analysis of all these frameworks, Scrum, Kanban, anything comes in over here. Uh, the key aspect of all this in the agility is about how quickly you are going to unearth the challenges or the risk in the cycle, and you are addressing those failures upfront itself. So whether you follow Scrum, whether you follow Kanban, or any of these areas, the whole idea is that how we are going to unearth those impediments, those challenges, those blockers, and the risk, and so that we make our journey smoother and we are able to address our customer needs as early as possible. Now, if you want to do that, it's not just a process, right? You have to understand the different ways of working when it comes to using the other mindset. Other coin part of the coin is the DevOps itself. If you don't understand the DevOps aspect, I would say that it's you will always be achieving only the half the benefit of the whole transformation. We are not going to achieve the full benefit, and even as an agile coaches itself, we will not be able to look the bigger picture if we are not having the understanding of both the sides of the coin itself.
Great. Great. Thank you, Parvinder. I have, I think, the question in continuation with the previous one. So it's on the chat. It says, who takes longer to adapt adapt and adopt the agile mindset, I believe? Is it the top layer or is it the bottom layer? So Shweta, in your experience, because you work with many clients and many people, many teams separately, who do you think takes longer, the top layer to get the mindset, the bottom layer?
Well, it's very, easy to be a team coach. At the same time, it's very, very difficult to be an executive and leadership coach. Why is it so? So definitely, it's easy to coach a person who is, at the team level. And that is how the agile coach journey or the career graph also shows. First, you need to be a team coach, and then you need to slowly rise with experience and knowledge. And then you, over a period of time, you gain that professional coaching expertise, and then you get into leadership and executive coaching, right? So certainly this itself shows that being a leadership and executive coach is much more, tough than being a individual or a team coach. Now, why is it so? That could be an add-on question to it, right? So when you do a leadership and executive coaching, several factors comes into play. First of all, your experience, your level of experience and expertise. That's one
So,
thing.
sorry,
Yeah.
Shweta, are you saying that top layer takes more time to?
Of course, yes. Of course, yes. They take much more time to adopt this mindset.
So what should you do in that case? I mean, although this question is not there, but I'm just asking on my from my knowledge. What should you do if they are taking longer?
It's all about making them aware about what do they want to achieve, first of all. So you as a coach is like a mirror, right? You are acting as a mirror to them, that why it is needed for you to first of all adopt this agile mindset and other things that is related to agility, because being at leadership position, they need to lead by example. We as an external coaches, we go there, we spend a couple of months or a year, and then we just move it out. But once that is done, it's also much needed to sustain that agility. And this is again possible only if the leaders of the organization become agile. Okay, because they are the constant factor there. They have to lead the entire organization by being the role model for the entire organization. So yes, they need to adopt it first.
Okay, great. Thank you. One more question on the chat session. How to coach the remote team? So I think this is very apt in the current scenario. In fact, this current scenario has been there for last like 9 months now. So how to coach remote teams? So Vikrant, again, I think you work with various clients as well for your organization. So maybe you want to pick this up first and help us to understand how do we coach remote teams.
Sure of that. Yeah, well, how to coach remote teams is an interesting question, because usually, like, especially when we talk about coaches, right, there is a very large factor, which is the human factor, right? And when we are into these assignments, we are working with different corporations and different consulting firms. There are things that we'll be teaching from a framework standpoint or from the best practice standpoint, but there will also be things that do not come from any of that content. And that thing, or that doing that I'm talking about, is things like when you're walking down the aisle and you hit across someone and they have a problem, and you get into a conversation over a coffee side or a water cooler, right? Those things from the coach's standpoint bring in so much of insights into what else is going on in the team, other than the team ceremonies or other than the big planning meetings and so on, right? Those are the things that are not available when you're remote, right? And it actually adds in a lot of additional complexities, that how do you really get to that kind of information that you are otherwise able to get to and make personal relationships with people, right? So obviously for all these things, you have to find the online version of it, which is not very, very easy, to be very frank. So there's no single formula or no single best practice per se. But one thing that comes to my mind right away is that GitLab is a 100% remote company. I'm not talking about GitHub. I'm talking about GitLab, right? So GitLab is a 100% remote company, approximately 1,250 or 1,300 employees. When I was reading that about 3 months back, maybe now less or more. But the CEO, there's a chief remote officer that they've hired actually. Okay, and one of the things that he says is that in a remote world, make sure that everything that you are expecting the people to follow, nothing is just said, everything is written very, very clearly. And let's make sure that that is very, very clear to everyone, right? So the reason why he says that is obviously because we don't have that kind of a human connect where you are able to just get into a room as a team and you talk about something, and most likely you'll remember that when you go out of the room. But when you're online, your attention span also varies, but you're not able to make out if the attention span currently is varied or not. You assume that, okay, what am I speaking is actually getting into other people's minds, right? So that is one thing that comes to my mind, that definitely do that. It's not that easy. It takes extra efforts. You have to find, like I said, you have to find the online versions of those connects with people. But definitely, I think in the past few months, people have found out different ways of doing the same things. So I have tried different things, like, we have an online social connect, or we have Friday evening nights and things like those. But just make sure that everything that you're doing, everything you're saying is all documented, very, very well documented. People are aware that where those things are, and everyone is following certain norms. I think these things are something that I've seen are have helped a lot in my experience.
Great. And Pravinder, let me move the spotlight to you, because again, since you work with many clients of Accenture, how do you coach remote teams in your world?
Okay, so I think one of the good point which we can't bring in, right? Okay, this whole agile values which talks about face to face to the tools and technologies and all, right? Now that shift, and that's what I have put it a question up front, like what is going to change post era, right? And this post era is definitely going to change the lot of things which agile principles and the values used to talk before, and what is now going to come after that, right? Okay, and definitely these tools and technologies are also taking a good amount of place and all. And one of the point which comes in as a technical part, right? And that is where we have seen in this and I think we all are being seeing, I think something somehow, I would say that I'm not sure how much we have really noticed, or we have really I would say dig deeper into that, how the open source organizations were used to work. In open source, if you would have seen, open source organizations have produced a great softwares which I think bigger organizations are using. And is it that open source people are sitting together in a room? No, they are sitting else somewhere in the world, but still they are producing some quality softwares, quality products which every one of us are using. One of the good which GitHub and all these kind of softwares which you are talking about, these all are produced by some of the open source people and all. How it was happening before, because there was a ownership, and the ownership, accountability, and even of the some of the good technical aspects which is being covered over there. How people are going to write the code, how people are going to integrate the aspects and all. So that is where now when the remote coaching is being coming in over here, these all aspects, more beyond human aspects and people aspects, there is a technical aspect also been coming in over here. Okay, and that is something which is going to change, and that is what in the remote era, when we are talking about today, the remote coaching itself, definitely human aspects, we are connecting with all the clients, all our team members and all, bringing in different aspects, like some of the aspects which Vikrant also mentioned, some building some coaching clinic or something, setting up some kind of a group invites and all, connecting with the people and all. But beyond people, how we are bringing in more and more tools and the practices within our day-to-day lifestyle, that has been changed a lot in this current era. And that is what in the going forward, when the I'm talking about as a post crisis, we will see a difference between two teams which are adopting tools and technologies also towards the fullest and leveraging their capability over here. You will find the productivities of those teams would be much higher than the teams which are just still focused on the agile process practices and all. Yep,
Great.
I think
Thank you, Pravinder. Thank you. There's a very interesting question actually on the chat. I would like to get everybody's thoughts on that. And thank you, Prashant, for putting this. So the question is, are enterprise agile coaches getting opportunity to move to senior leadership role with P&L responsibility and become business leaders gradually? Shweta, any thoughts on this? Have you seen this happening around anywhere? And what are your thoughts on this?
People are very opportunist, right? It all depends what is the situation and how people at different levels are interpreting those opportunities and offering even to people who they think that they can be finally accommodated in our organization as business leaders and all. So it all depends upon the individual. If we say yes, we do get an opportunity or offer to join as a business leader, but then it depends upon us whether we want to accept it or we don't want to accept it. Now, what factors drive that? For me, I can share my views on this. For me, my values matters a lot to me, and these values are not only aligned in my personal life, but it is very much aligned with my professional life also. Okay, so if my values are not aligned to such opportunities, I will not accept under any terms and condition. I will not accept it. Okay, I myself have served for 15 years in corporates, and probably my values were not aligned to that. So I just took a decision to quit that job and start my own, on my own. So even though I get offered to accept that, probably I'll not do the same mistake again, right? So it all depends upon individuals.
Okay, Parvinder, your thoughts?
Short answer, yes. Okay.
Okay.
And I will tell you, I think there was one question about leadership is hard to coach or team members are hard to coach. Okay. I think one thing as an agile coaches, and I'm being playing more of a business agile leader in some of that, and even the transformation advisory with a large organization. It's, I think, I would say lakhs of people are there, other than Accenture for my client I'm talking about. I will tell you the problem. Okay, it's not something that leaders are difficult to coach or they are not ready to build agile mindset. If you see some of the large organizations who decided to try to move to agile, the strategies first of all come from the agile leaders only. The organization leadership only is bringing in, and that's saying that they are not having an agile mindset. I say it's a totally a wrong perception over there. They have agile mindset. That's why they want to bring that agile within their organization. But the problem and the challenge with the leadership is that the magnitude and the economies of scales they are playing with. As an agile coaches, do we understand what is their challenges really are? What the magnitude of impact their decision is going to make? What is the economies of scale they are going to handle? Because when working with a team coach, as a team coach within a team member, it's a one single team member. His magnitude of scale and the economies of scale are just a couple of lines of code he or she is writing within a team itself. But what is the leadership is bringing in over here? Now, when that's where when the question comes in whether we want to reach that leadership position and all, I have seen there is a quite a good number of folks, even I know, and all those things. People played a good agile, excellent agile coaches and all, taken up the business leader roles and all, and now they are doing wonders and driving that whole organization into a change itself. But what is required? Is it agile enough to reach to that business leader position? No. When you are reaching that business leader position, you have to understand the industry of that organization. Unless you understand the industry knowledge, understand the business knowledge of that organization, in what business you are in, what industry you are in, you cannot be at a business leader position. Only agile is not enough to reach to that business leader position. You have to understand the industry and the business knowledge, because you are not going to take only agile decisions when you are sitting at the business leader chair. You are going to take decisions from the business leader point of view, from that industry and the business perspective, and that knowledge is must. That brings you over there. That's what at least from my experience I could share that.
Yeah. Vikrant, anything to add on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very, very interesting question. And ever since I heard this question, there are three things going in my mind. So are they, can they, and should they? So should they actually take up those positions or not? So are they taking up the positions? I think yes. There are many people I've seen that are taking up those positions. And going back to Shweta's point that people are opportunists, maybe they saw the opportunity and they picked it up. Maybe they just thought that, okay, this will give me a better career, or or maybe they thought that, okay, because I already know Agile and I'm an enterprise Agile coach, maybe by becoming a leader, I can change this organization even better. So are they doing it? Yes, many of them are doing it. Can they? Depends upon their exposure level. And to Parvinder's point, that do you understand what that position actually means? Do you understand what a leader goes through? Do you understand what are the economies of scale and the type of role and responsibility, the number of dollars that you're dealing with at that point in time, right? Saying that, okay, I'm undergoing a change and a transformation and I have a change management program is one thing. But when you go try to implement it in a very complex enterprise environment, things are not that easy. Things are not that simple over there, right? So definitely, so should they or actually can they? Yes, it's depend, like it depends upon their own sort of level of understanding of the position. If they can, then yes, maybe they should do that. Should they? It is a personal choice, right? If I usually coach leadership positions, I coach the CXOs of the organization, CIOs, CPOs, CTOs, etc. And if there's a position for a chief product officer, I think it's a pure personal choice. So what I'm trying to say here is that there is no defined career path per se. That okay, you are a team coach, then you're a portfolio coach, and you're a leadership coach, and now you are the leader itself. There's no such path as such, right? There are all possibilities. It all depends upon what you want to do in your life.
Absolutely right, Vikrant, and thank you for your thoughts also in this. And as they say, different courses for different horses. It depends on what you really want to do and how you want to take it. And Prashant, I agree with you. You've written a note there that EACs need not to be contractors. Absolutely right. These could be employees of EAC role itself. Yes, you are one of them, and I am also one of them. So completely agree with you. I don't hold P&L responsibility, but yeah, I'm definitely a part of leadership group for my organization. So very good question, Prashant. I think this is probably the one of the most intriguing questions that I've seen lately. So there is another question which is, should we stop coaching a team if we ever want to stop coaching a team? So should we stop coaching a team, and how do you decide it? So Vivek, your thoughts on this? Should we ever stop coaching a team?
Sure. So I think, Avatar, this is a good valid question. Many times people talk about that agile coach. Is it a full-time role, or is it a partial role kind of things? So before bringing into that, I just wanted to have few things where we can say where we can stop this agile coaching. Okay, so I can say that if the definition of done which we have planned for our team and for our organization, if everybody agreed that it is completed, it is done, then that coaching part can be done. Okay, the second part is the habits, what we were just discussing about for the previous questions, like the mindset changes and other changes. Just like when I discussed with Vikrant, their organization is completely fully into that agile transformation mindset, for what I believe. So the same way, when if the new habit has been adopted into the organization, in that situation, that agile coaching can be stopped. uh, okay, and we need to monitor the team productivity. We need to check the growth. There should be some ROI, check the growth, how we can check the growth, how we can measure that, if we can get the productivity, if we can measure that. And now there is a good support of the management, especially when we say the management, I say the middle management, because things initiated from the top management, it comes down to the to the team only when there is a great support from the management. So if everything has been done, all that point has been done, and once the nirvana has been achieved, okay, then we can say that this can be somehow we have achieved, and then that coaching part will be moved to some other area. Over to you, Avatar.
Okay. I really enjoy this actually because I can see Shweta wants to say something, and you both are very different actually because Shweta is an entrepreneur in agile coaching.
Yep.
So just now ask her what does she feel about stopping the agile coaching.
Well, whenever we get into a coaching agreement, okay, we always set the goals of that coaching, right? So the goals are very clear to the coach and the coachee. The coachee could be an individual, and the coachee could be a team, a group of people, right? We can do a group coaching also. So once the goal has been achieved, we take a decision to stop coaching. First thing. Second thing, when we get into an organization as an agile consultant and a coach, there when we see all the dysfunctions of the team has been removed and team is able to sustain, then we take a decision to stop coaching. And thirdly, when the team is able to do the value delivery and their productivity has reached to a level where the outcome is achieved, and the mindset has been well established in their mind, that agility mindset is there, and they have already started by living the values and principle of agile. At that time we take a decision to stop coaching. So these are the different parameters. I'm specifically very clear about when I take a decision to stop coaching.
Okay. Well, I think I beg to differ with both of you, but I'm just
We'd like to hear that.
I'm just a moderator, so I will stick to my role.
Can I share something here?
Sure, Vikrant. Yes.
Yeah. So just like you're saying, I also tend to differ slightly over here, and I'll just share my thoughts. So I have been part of 3 large-scale agile transformations so far, starting from 2011. 2 of them were in the US, one was in India. And even the transformation that we started in 2011, those teams haven't stopped coaching yet. And to be very frank, I haven't seen any transformation where this decision was taken on a factual basis or at a logical point that yes, now the point has been reached and we pull off the coaching. I actually have not seen that definition or actually been happening really in real life. So yeah, I mean that's what I've seen. But on the contrary, just to quote another example, I will quote my own company, ThoughtWorks, right? And the way people work here is that there are no agile coaches and there are no scrum masters with any team at all. There are 7,000 people, not a single scrum master and not a single agile coach. So you may ask me, what do I do? So I don't coach ThoughtWorks, I coach my clients. ThoughtWorks doesn't need me as such. Yeah. So is that a definition of when to stop coaching? Maybe so. But what are those parameters? Like why do this company doesn't need coaches at all? Right? Because they exhibit certain properties, right? But what I would say is that they exhibit the agile culture. Like everything, every project, every delivery, every meeting exhibits the agile culture. Now, how do you measure that agile culture is the crucial part or the typical critical part here. If you can do that very, very clearly, the other abuse that I've seen of such metrics is that metrics are just numbers and we can make numbers up. I can show that, okay, hey, my team was at shoe, now I'm at car, and next month I'm at re. So should we stop coaching then? So it's quite complex in nature. Only thing I just want to bring up is that I wish there's a good way to do that, but in my experience, I haven't seen a single place where this decision was taken very, very democratically and at a very, very logically that yes, this is the time, this team is good, you don't need a coaching, let's move to the next team. Haven't seen that happening.
Great, great. Thank you, Vikrant. And Shweta, maybe we'll discuss this offline, but I'll just
Yeah.
2 words. There is a book called The Toyota Way to Lean Leadership. There are just 2 words, which is Kaizen and Gemba. When you feel like you're going to stop coaching, go to Gemba again. Kaizen is the thing to keep in mind. Very interesting question on the chat again. Thank you, Namika, for putting this. Can you implement agile practices in service management or support functions? If yes, how can we do that, as work in this area is an ongoing process? I will share my thoughts, Anamika, because this is one area where my teams actually posted a lot of resistance in doing it in the operations world. But before I do that, let me go to the experts here. So Pravinder, again, I can bring it back to you. If you can just maybe share some thoughts from your coaching experience with your clients, if you ever got an opportunity to bring agile transformation in service management or support functions.
Yep, I think definitely there is a good amount of work which has been going on and bringing agile and all. And I think I totally agree. One of the point which is I think we always feel because there is a ongoing work or there is a quite a volatile kind of a nature is there in the service management side, right? Because there is a whatever we are working on the service request and all those things and all. And I think that is where one of the topic which we were talking about DevOps, right? There is one way is that DevOps is bringing these aspects closer together as a DevOps when we implement a good DevOps aspects within a teams and all. There is a quite a good amount of work from the service management and all that could be reduced, bringing in those practices and all. Second is definitely, I think we all are aware about the Kanban ways of working, which helps in managing our work, which is volatile in nature, and which we have seen that how we are going to bring in some of those. I don't know, again, somewhere it is called as L1, L1.5, P1, P2. I think there is a different terminology. I'm not getting another. So it is all depends upon that how you are going to bring it. And I think these all aspects are interrelated when it comes into place. It's not something that I will say that development is going to completely work in a siloed environment and we are following Scrum over there and we transform only the operations piece separately and there is a huge backlog of operations team and then we say that okay, let's do it in a Kanban way and all. I don't think so. These two different siloed model usually work when it comes in an organization. The point is that how first of all you are going to bridge this gap of the development and operations. That is where bringing those DevOps ways of working and reducing that part from that service management side, and that is where then you bring in those Kanban ways of working and all, and then helping it managing your service management or the service aspects over here. So I think that is what we have seen with the large organization, how to bridge the gap, and then also parallelly how you are going to manage your service manager. Because I'm telling you from my experience, if you are not going to bridge the gap, even with the help of Kanban ways of working, operations is very difficult to manage the huge backlog what is being going to come in if you are not going to manage that. Because if that silo is not broken up, I'm telling you the understanding between the operations teams about the product and your code and or the ways of or I would say about the system is totally different what your development team is having it. That is a huge gap, and that gap is something which is creating the your operation overhead in the organization too high.
Great, thank you, Praveen. I will actually pick this up because there is another very good question, and in the interest of time, I want to concentrate on the other question also. So, Anamika, just to answer your question, I have both the dev test teams with me and also the operations team with me, and I got a lot of pushback from them saying that we can't go to agile, we can't use any agile workflow management tool because we are different. Our work is always progressing. It is very unknown. We can't actually look at how much time it's going to spend on tickets. So in nutshell, what I did is first thing, as Pravinder said, there is no silo. So we incorporated the teams together in the art team. So there is one agile release train. My dev test teams basically do follow the safe principles. So they do a 10-week PI planning and sprint planning, whereas my operations teams do a weekly sprint. They don't follow a 2-week sprint. And they don't follow the rigor of the dev test teams, the PI planning, and the other cadence meetings. They have a 2-hour planning session on every Monday morning. And fortunately, the tools that we have, such as ServiceNow or Remedy, whichever you're using, gives you a lot of information about the trending of your tickets. So what I have done when we started this is we said 50% of the time will go for tickets. So we just blocked, as one user story said, 50% time as the ticket performance. And the other 50% time was more to do the changes or the incidents or the other work. And that 50% time for the tickets, actually, you can monitor that through ServiceNow or Remedy on Demand, whichever tool you're using, and see whether that 50% time is enough, or do you need more, or do you need less. So you can actually change your time allocations every week depending on how your trend is going on. And then again, as Parvinder said, during the art definition, you can actually put infrastructure or system teams in the art team so that you can actually define how much work is required. For an example, if you are rolling out a software and you actually need to build 2 virtual machines before you do that, it has to be done before the sprint 2 when you're rolling out, so you can plan it accordingly. So there are multiple ways to do it. I've just very briefly talked about what I have done. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this. मैं इस topic पे अगले 30 मिनट बात कर सकता हूँ. But there are very interesting questions that are there, so I want to pick that up. There is another question which says, what do you as agile coaches understand by the term called digital transformation with agile? So Vikrant, what do you think the term means, digital transformation with agile?
I'm hearing that term for the first time, digital transformation with agile. What I've heard is digital transformation. And the way I understand this is that being agile is one of the characteristics that you would exhibit if you were undergoing a digital transformation. So in a way, if you were to put the concentric circles, I would put the agile circle inside, and then I will confine that with the digital transformation. That's how I would define that. Think of it this way, right? If you are undergoing digital transformation, you are trying to transform your business units, your people, your processes, your technology usage, okay? And you're not agile. Will that actually succeed, right? So the answer lies right within that question. So I would say it's contained inside. You have to be agile, because whatever transformation plans you're creating, they cannot be waterfall. The very reason why you would be undergoing the digital transformation would be most likely, in most cases, will be driven by the agility and the amount of changes happening in the market. There are changes happening because of market conditions, changes happening because of customer behavior preferences changing every day, or changes happening because of unprecedented changes like COVID. No one knew at all. It was a black swan event. It just came, right? No one had any idea that this was coming, right? If you're not agile in your transformation strategy, most likely it's going to fail, right? So it all goes together. Then there's nothing called as a digital transformation with agile. I would say it is, you have to be agile to actually do digital transformation.
Parvinder, anything from you on this?
No, I think Avatar, I think Vikrant has very well put it over here, and I totally agree with him. Nothing on that side, but definitely, if we are not agile, I'm not sure that by when someone will achieve a digital transformation, because every 6 month technology is changing. Any waterfall plans, I don't know how long they will survive. I can definitely echo on that part.
Sorry, you were saying something. Yes.
Okay. So Avatar, this is a very interesting question. I'm just taking one small example. If somebody is working on a construction based company, their work is on routine basis. They know what they have developed past. But here it is all about the digital transformation. So the point is, every month, I cannot say every month, every week things has been changing. Okay, so this is a perfect match for the agile. Maybe there is a lot of things which are still working in the waterfall, but digital do not. Digital must have to move into all the agile transformation concepts. Otherwise, that industry or any organization will not survive at all.
Right. Thank you, Vivek. Again, another very good question from Karthik. How do you measure performance of agile coaches? Shweta, let me come to you. How do you measure the agile coach performance, and like what KPIs should we define?
Who measures agile coach's performance? If I have to, question him back, I'll just ask this. So again, I'll say that we bring in agile coaches with certain outcomes to be achieved, and if those outcomes are achieved, that means we as agile coaches have played our role successfully, right? So suppose you have a digital transformation going. I'm just trying to connect it with the previous question also, right? And you want to go for digital transformation, and of course one of the most wanted reason to go digital is to uh, launch your product in the market digitally as soon as possible, right? And in order to do that, you have brought in agility, and you want everybody to go agile, become agile as soon as possible. And that with that intention, you bring in the agile coaches, right? So your agile coaches train your people, coach your people, and try to make your people independent, work independently. So once all these outcomes are achieved and you start bringing out your product in the market, I think that's the way you would measure the performance of agile coaches as well. So this is as per me.
Correct. That's true. All right, Vikrant, anything to add on that?
Yeah, a couple of things. I think those are great points, Shweta. Couple of things I would also add on to that is that so there are different metrics and measures that are available, that you could look at. But I think the measurement of agile coaches should be tied back to the very need of the agile transformation. Why were those coaches hired in the first place? If you hired them just to transfer a team from a waterfall to agile, or did you hire them to be agile with the changing business needs in the market? What was the original root cause? What was the outcome that you wanted, right? So, for example, you could measure as simple as whether the velocity is increasing or not, right? Or you could measure that what is my average cycle time now, or time to market now for a feature. That was the first thing why you actually went ahead with agile, and then you wanted to transfer your teams, and that was the reason why you got the agile coaches, right?
Yeah.
So the performance of an agile coach doesn't stop at a team level. There were business reasons why the transformation was started, right? As far as those reasons, as far as those outcomes are achieved, like the time to market is there, or mean time to recovery, like in the case of if it's a full DevOps setup, then there's a mean time to recovery, or there's a customer satisfaction, there's team satisfaction, and many other things, right? If you're achieving those, then yes, you could say that, yeah, that's a good way to see that, okay, how the transformation is going. I would still not directly attach this with a transformation consultant or a coach. Certain companies do that, but I would say I would lean towards that if I were to measure the effectiveness of a coach.
Great. I think, Vikrant, you hit the nail right on the head there. Absolutely. In my mind also, TTM probably is the only metrics I will look for if I'm a product company. And reduction in the lead cycle time probably is the another one if I look for if I'm not probably a product company. So great question. We just have probably a couple of minutes left. So very quickly, just one last tip that you want to leave for the audience as agile coaches, and very briefly, even if it is 2-3 words, what is the one tip that you would leave with the audience? So Shweta, let me begin with you.
Okay, it's a highly misunderstood term, agile coaches. people play a role of an agile consultant, agile trainer, and yet they call themselves an agile coach. So my tip would be to go back and get this correction done first of all at a basic level. And a coach is a coach. That's it. Okay. And you specialize in agility, you specialize in different other areas, and you can designate yourself as that particular coach. So this is my tip for everyone.
Okay, Parvinder.
Yep. So I'll just call out one aspect over here when you're playing an agile coach's role. Going into any organization, don't go with a pre-notion or something in your mind that uh, this organization is not agile or this is what we are going to do it and all kind of that way. I'm telling you from my experience, within an organization, if you go with a SWOT analysis, you will identify a good amount of strengths, and that's where I was telling you that it's the people in that organization, they are already willing to do and they are already having a good amount of knowledge and mindset which is already available in the organization. As an agile coaches, it's something which we go as a facilitator, as we to channelize and bring that thing together within the company and bring in that consistency over here. And as just now we are talking about the metrics and all, uh, do your homework over there, understand the desire of that organization and all, and then define that what is the success for the organization mean, and that itself becomes your own performance indicators. It's not that you are doing something for yourself, you are going over there to facilitate and coach that particular organization. So understanding that organization pain areas, understanding their performance areas, what is that we are trying, what is that organization want to achieve, that itself becomes the performance metric for as an agile coach itself.
Great, great. Thank you very much. Vikrant and Vivek, please be very, very brief.
I'll keep it very, very short, Avtar. So only one thing I would suggest people to rethink is that agile transformations, look them from a change management standpoint. It's all about change management. Transformation is all about that. And when you are implementing a change, expect a lot of pushback, right? And every time you do that, if you're a scrum master, empathize with your team members. If you're a portfolio coach, empathize with your project manager and program managers. If you are a CXO coach, empathize with those leaders, what they're going through. And if you were in their position, if you were challenging them, what would you do? Empathize with them at all levels. That's my only tip.
Okay, Vivek.
Just one sentence. I can say it's all about the effective outcome of the organization. So work with the team, see what best fitted them, and whether the client is happy and the outcome is good or not.
Great.
Change accordingly. That's all.
Great, great. Well, thank you, everyone. It's been a brilliant session. I learned a lot. I hope you did too. I will hand it back to Rohit. Thank you for picking the information, asking good questions, and a very, very interactive session. So, Rohit, over to you.
Thanks, Avatar, and it was a great session indeed, and a great moderation by Avatar with respect to coaching clinic. And we thank Shweta, Vivek, Vikrant, and Parvinder for being part of the panel. So, and we also thank the audience who has been who had a great time to spend with us for the past 2 days. And in case if you want to be associated with the community, please log into our website agilenetworkindia.com/get involved, and you can fill in the form as a volunteer or a speaker or a panelist or a host organization. Thank you.